Blessed love, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me right now. And I will just say right off the bat, if you happen to just be scrolling on Instagram right now and you caught this video for a second, hold off, save this video, and wait until you actually have the time to watch it in its entirety. Because this is the most important message that I have ever shared. This is the most important thing that I have ever pursued. And I also need to ask for your help. And so I want you to really hear me out and understand the whole picture. So let's begin. Let me jump right into it. First off, in 10 days, I will be running a 53-mile ultra marathon in Cuba, New Mexico. This is going to be an insane endurance challenge met with every type of terrain. It's November in northern New Mexico, so it's going to be cold, and it is going to be an all-day experience, 12 plus hours of running, most likely, to complete this 53-mile race. Now, this is something that really inspires me in and of itself. I just ran the Duke City Marathon last week, and a marathon is the longest I've ever run. Endurance running has changed my life this last year or two. I've learned a lot of things from just running one marathon, but to run 53 miles, twice that of a regular marathon, is honestly a spiritual experience, to say the least. It transcends physical training, and it is all consuming. So it has radically been changing my life. And this run in particular is a lot more than just the endurance training. Because why would I do something like this? Why am I doing 53 miles, especially as a diabetic? I've been a type 1 diabetic since I was 7 years old. So what is pushing me? Well, I'm taking this opportunity right now to raise money for my favorite nonprofit that I've actually had the honor to have taken part in this last year, called R.U.N.N. Now, this is actually spelled R-U-N-N, and it's an acronym that stands for Reform the United Nations Now. We're going to get all into it in this video, but R.U.N.N. is a nonprofit that was actually started by a very good friend of mine, a mentor, a leader, an outstanding artist, and now an organizer. His name is Ras Elijah Tafari, and he's also the author of this book, Mankind's Last Hope. Everything that I'm going to discuss and everything that I share with you today is all in this book. And if you really want to get the inside scoop, get your own copy. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on reformtheunitednationsnow.com or raselijahtafari.com, his own website. You can get yourself a copy, and he outlines everything. But I'm going to share with you now some key points and why I'm raising money. First off, because it is a 53-mile race, my goal for the next 10 days is to raise $53,000. $1,000 for every mile. And because I'm putting in my entire life into this thing, the most that I can ask from you is $53. And when I did the math, I realized if I could have 1,000 people donate $53, then I think in 10 days, we could actually pull this thing off. And we can propel this nonprofit forward and really make a difference. So, I'm putting everything else on the side. I'm putting my music on the side. I'm putting my real estate business on the side. And I'm going all in for these next 10 days. During these 10 days, you're going to see a lot more videos about this charity. And I'm excited to really go deep into all the different nooks and crannies of this nonprofit. But I'll give you the gist right now. So, if you are even slightly aware, as you look around, you'll realize that we are in very troubling times. We're experiencing a lot of growth. There's a lot of good things that are happening as humanity is flourishing. But especially like in this pandemic, it showed that we are a lot more vulnerable than we may have thought. And we have entire systems and structures that are not sustainable. As a collective, we are living in this capitalistic, competitive nature that makes us fight against our own brothers and sisters of different creeds, of different nations, and of different races. And this selfish agenda is simply not sustainable. There's going to become a time in our lifetime, with the way things are looking with the environment, on a socio-political level, on a technological level, on a supply chain level, however you want to look at it, there are many factors at play that will lead us to a moment when we are going to have to cooperate as a collective. We are going to have to realize that we are not separate nations, but we are all one humanity. And we're going to have to truly organize to make a radical change. So, obviously, there has to be some type of organization to create this teamwork. And thankfully, there already is, and it's called the United Nations. However, if you even just slightly look into the United Nations, you realize that it's just simply not efficient. It has good intentions, and we don't want to get rid of the United Nations. We definitely don't want to start over, because there's no point in reinventing the wheel, but we simply have to reform it. And there are certain key flaws and certain red flags within the United Nations that we need to discuss on a global scale in order to reform, repair, and truly be able to build upon a collective platform that has everyone's best interest in mind. Not just us as people, but also the environment and all the inhabitants and animals on this earth. So, the way that the United Nations is set up is that there's this thing called the Security Council. And out of the 196 members or so that are a part of the United Nations, there are 5 large countries, including China, France, England, the United States, of course, that have a veto vote. And this is very dangerous because when we have a global discussion and when we're talking about matters that affect all of Africa and all of South America, you can have one country like the the United States that simply doesn't agree, or there is a proposal that just doesn't jive with the United States agenda, and they can simply veto that and do otherwise. Now, to have the Security Council be run by, I hate to say it, some of the greatest terrorists on our planet is very ironic. Now, listen, I love the United States. I live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Uh, I love what we stand for and the opportunity that this country can bring. But if you truly love something, you will call out the bad things that they are doing for their betterment. So I want to make the United States better. And this has to be done with forward thinking, right? I don't want to make America great again. I want to make it better than it ever was. And in order to do that, we have to come up with new ideas. And I'll mention that whatever idea we present, it will inevitably be a grassroots movement. I mean, think about it. Any change that we have seen in recent times or in past times has started from just a little seed, started from just a few people talking about some key concepts and having it ripple through on a local level, then a state, national, international. And that's what I'm proposing right now. So, going back to the Security Council, we need to get rid of the Security Council and have a free democracy amongst all the members of the United Nations. Now, another pillar of this nonprofit is also to dismantle and severely limit the nuclear weapons that are here on this earth. Another part of the Security Council is that a lot of these bigger countries have an unfathomable amount of nuclear weapons. I mean, thousands that would literally be able to destroy the entire Earth 7 times over. Why would we need so many nuclear weapons in Russia, in the United States, in China, when there are no nuclear weapons in Canada or all of Africa? Right? And the reason is because these countries use them as fear tactics. Right? It's again this competitive nature that we have to outdo other countries. And it is simply a symbol at this point. When we look at our future leaders, especially in the stressful times that we have ahead, do we really want a volatile person having their hand over that red button? Do we even want that to be a possibility? So we have to dismantle nuclear weapons, and we have to prioritize environmental repair, creating entire systems of agriculture, systems of trade, systems of transportation that are carbon neutral and are sustainable. And right now, as we look at the trajectory, we're just doing so many different things, whether you want to look at the meat industry or our trade or our air travel. I mean, everything that we're doing is unsustainable. And we are looking at a huge shift. But that shift starts the moment that we as individuals start having these conversations. And then we eventually have these conversations with people in political positions. First, congressmen, senators, people on a local, state level. As it ripples, as these become trending topics of discussion, we will see change manifest in real time. Now, the reason why I'm raising $53,000 is because in this infancy of this charity, we need to start going to various conferences. And as we've had our weekly meetings, there's a lot of conferences that we've mentioned taking place in Africa, in South America, and of course here in the United States as well. And the more that we can spread our message, that we can advocate for world peace and world cooperation, the more that it will unfold. Now, the last part of the last pillar of this nonprofit is also reforming the budget. You see, the budget of the United Nations is mainly funded by these larger countries that make up the Security Council, who directly benefit off of the nuclear industrial complex, who benefit off of war. And when you really look at the hidden agendas of different nations, you see that they are going into wars and supplying the weapons for both sides, then you realize what's really at play here. And you realize we can't have true world peace that has everyone's best interest in mind when you have these types of puppet masters having a veto vote and really controlling things and then funding things. Then it really makes you question why we're hearing a certain narrative. So, again, I'm raising $53,000, and I have so much more to go over with this nonprofit, but I want to try to keep it on the shorter side. And I highly recommend that you just take a moment to read this book in its entirety. You can order it online. I actually read it in one day. This was a day that I had off, and it was just the theme for the day. Make yourself some tea, sit back, immerse yourself in this book, and it is going to reveal so much to you. And it's going to share with you the urgency, and you're going to really feel maybe overwhelmed at times. But then you're going to feel truly, truly inspired, knowing that there is hope, that you have an integral part in moving our humanity forward, that we truly can make the change. So read this book, get informed, and tune in to the different things that I'll be sharing for these next 10 days leading up to the race. And I'm excited to share with you the results of this race, because I'm going to end it on this note. All right, I know this was a long video. There's so much to cover. This is the one thing that I'll say about why I'm using a race as the way of raising money for this nonprofit. And it's not just because the charity is called R.U.N.N, even though that was a great inspiration. The reason being is because, look, as a diabetic, as a teacher, I'm a realtor, I'm a single father, I have a lot on my plate. And having something like this as a goal radically has been changing my life, and it's been calling out a lot of my own BS, my own doubts, my own fears. It has been actually leading me closer to myself and revealing parts of myself that I've never known before. As I conquer this goal, as I claim this victory, I want to be an example of how you ultimately will have to have this type of confrontation with yourself at some point. And realize that as a collective, we're all just a bunch of individuals at the end of the day. Before we can ever make real change, we have to make the change within ourselves, right? I can't stand here and ask you to donate $53 without me showing that I'm putting my all into this, that I'm fighting for something that I truly believe in, right? For any type of leader, if you were to vote for somebody, to run for office, you would want to run for somebody that has complete confidence in themselves, yeah? You wouldn't want to have a president who's kind of doubting himself subtly during the campaign trail. So the same is true for something like this, right? I cannot just talk the talk. I cannot just ask you to donate $53 and have it not amount to much. I have to show you firsthand how serious I am, how passionate I am about this. And it's also just a experience for myself because, again, I'm learning so much about myself pursuing something like this. So I hope you tune into this journey. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I have a GoFundMe link in the bio. Please donate whatever you can. I'm going to have different options. You can donate $5.3, $53, and if you really have the means, if you really feel inspired by this, you can also donate $530. But let's hit that $53,000 goal. Let's make history, and let's propel our humanity forward. Blessed be the Most High. Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. Thank you for tuning in. Much love. Peace.